Say yes to new beginnings.
Yes.
Say yes to new standards of excellence.
Yes.
Say yes to engaging reportage with a difference.
Yes.
Introducing Yes International Magazine.
Now, what should a PR practitioner do on getting a brief? What is the first thing that a PR practitioner should or must do on getting a brief?
Study the brief. While each brief, there are similarity in briefs, but no two briefs are the same. Let me borrow from the doctor. Have you been ill before that you go to your doctor? Sometimes you even phone him and say, "Doctor, I'm not feeling well." He says what? He asks you a few questions, right? When did it start? Do you have a temperature? Can you eat? Have you been throwing up? Blah, 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 blah. Now on the phone, he can tell you, "I think it is," right? That's happened. That's the process. But what next does he tell you? He say, "I suggest you to come and run some tests." It is a process. PR is a process. So in running a campaign, the first thing is a brief. Whether the client gives you the brief or you develop the brief out of what you say. When you go to the doctor and when you get there and you're talking to him, he's writing copiously. Hasn't eaten, vomited 3 times, blah, blah. He's writing out a brief. It is from that brief that the first thing he will do is that, okay, is this person, how much danger is this person in? Let me do something that can mitigate any possibility. So, for instance, if you have a high fever, they give you an injection to bring down the fever, and so on and so forth. If you are throwing up, they give you something. But in that process, then they carry out a test. One of the challenges we have in public relations is that there's not enough empirical evidence. Not enough research is going on in public relations because consumer wants, people's wants constantly change. I want to give you a small little example. In my house at a time, 3 of us were using 3 different brands of toothpaste. As you think about it, when you were growing up, could you tell, all right, think. Is it possible? He said, "Daddy, you are using Maclean's." "No, I don't like Maclean's." "When you are buying, buy Colgate for me." Is that possible? It wasn't possible.
It wasn't in our time.
It wasn't. So my son was using, I think, Maclean's. He liked Maclean's. My wife was using there's some
Sensodyne.
No, Ethylene, and I think I was using Sensodyne. Ethyl is pink like that, But it just shows you that consumer wants. So household, in those days, you would buy a big tube because all of you have to use it or something. Or it definitely must be one brand. Nobody was thinking about it, but the wants have changed. There's democratization of action, opinion, wants. So your 5-year in many homes, people, they even cook separately for certain people because that person says, "I don't want onion, I don't want tomato, I don't want." In those days, if you don't want, you are not eating. Simple.
You go hungry.
Am I right? You
Yeah,
don't
very, very right.
Yeah, I don't drink milk, and from when I was a kid, and I remember how many breakfasts that I missed because my mom would tell me that you with milk makes you grow, and they will give me the milk. I will throw up. I will throw it up, and tomorrow she say, "Well, yeah, you must drink milk because he has all the I think
Nutrients."
what he gave up. You understand me? But the truth of the matter really was that there's a lot of democratization going on. Democratization of opinion, democratization in purchasing power, the issue of like NSARS and so on and so forth. So the wants are changing. And therefore, when a PR practitioner gets a brief, he must resist the attempt to over-familiarize himself. Oh, we've done this before. There may be similarities, but so the next thing after you write the brief, make the brief clear. What are the objectives of the brief? And honestly, I use an example in my office, and I say that your brief must be as pointed as a pencil, a well-sharpened pencil, and your communication solution must be as pointed as a well-sharpened pencil. I always use an analogy that if you use a well-sharpened pencil and you put it on your skin, it's supposed to prick you, right? That's what your brief must do. And that, having looked at the brief, you must do some level of research just to know exactly where, to feel the pulse of what it is. And that's where a lot of clients do not. They have a problem because they don't want to pay for research. The agency or the consulting firm, as the case may be, don't have enough resources to do research. But I want to say to you nowadays that technology has made a lot of things. There's something called, I think, monkey survey. You can even do that on your phone. You can send it out. When you ask your wife questions, it's research. When you ask your son, it's research. When you ask your colleagues at work, it's research. When you ask whoever, no matter how small the sample size is, you may be able to find what you are looking for. It's sometimes like looking for a needle in a haystack. Your survey, once you've gotten the results of your survey, you then evolve what you call a strategy. A strategy. That's a communication strategy. What's the communication strategy? It's the big umbrella. The word strategy was borrowed from the military. It's the overall plan, either to win a war, win a battle. So lately I've been watching a lot of documentary on the Second World War and how wars were won, how battles were won, and so on and so forth. I've been watching a lot of documentary on that. And you see that there's an overall strategy of taking a location, while there will now be tactical. The problem where many public relations practitioners, or where they have, is that many people mistake tactics for strategy. And they focus more on the tactical aspect of it rather than having the strategy. The strategy is the umbrella plan, is the overall plan that then you can draw strategies from. So once you've got your strategy, then you can evolve some of the tacticals. This is what we're going to do here. Then you have to then put time into it. So how big is this campaign? Is a 3-month campaign? Is a 6-month campaign? Is a 1-year campaign? We'll be doing this at this time. We'll be doing that at that time, and so on. You would also put in mechanism to evaluate the impact of the campaign. So let's take something like domestic violence, for instance. Somebody has asked us to run a campaign, an advocacy campaign on domestic violence, violence against spouse. When I mean spouse, I mean both men and women. Violence against women in the house, even violence against domestic help, because all of that. So how much of that? So that's we're trying to do. We're looking for behavioral changes. So at the beginning of the campaign, we surveyed 100 homes, and we found out that domestic violence increases as domestic violence exists in, and I'm just using this figuratively, in 50-something% of homes. Now, after we have deployed our campaign, after we have executed, what has the change been? So we're imagining in the 3rd month, it should have reduced to 50% or 45%. In the 6th month, it should have reduced to 40%. And maybe it's a 6-month campaign. We imagine that by the end of 6 months, either we have totally eradicated it, or it shouldn't be more than 10%. That is our success rates. So sometimes you can even take the cost of the campaign and you divide it on, let's say, the percentage of the household. I'm just using that as an example. And then you can figure out how much money was spent on this campaign per person. And then that determines what level of success you have achieved in that campaign. Finally, you must put money. Yoruba say gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ gbogbo lórí owó ni. All matter is on money.
Obe tó dùn owó ló pa.
I don't know if I pronounce it. Help me. Obe tuto.
Obe tọrọtọ. Obe tó dùn owó ló pa.
Obe tó dùn owó ló pa. So
all right.
Really, and at the end of the day, you must put it. Another thing that I find out that public relations practitioners, a lot of us are good professionals, but we're very bad businessmen. We focus on the professional aspect of it. The client comes and says, so sometimes you give things away free. Your services, your counsel is free. Sometimes you give it free. You equate it to going to Elizade and he looks at you and he dashes you one Toyota Land Cruiser 2021 model. Because I tell people, we don't sell sugar, we don't sell milk. We sell ideas, we sell counsel. So you must be able to know how to attach the weighting of money to it in such a way that people who you offer it, the Bible says that you must not cast your pearl before swines. And so it's important for you to do that.
Interesting.